So this has turned into kind of a lengthy series talking about um, with um, the fighting porn and failing, and I've started kind of looking at a lot of attitudes and stuff, and I'm going to try and start winding things in today, but a lot to talk about. Um, in life, sometimes we forget to just enjoy life. We get so caught up with things that we're struggling with or whatever, and we just kind of forget to enjoy it. In Christianity, there's actually a lot of times that people do something like this. They actually focus too much on the next life, and then they forget that there is still a life here. I grew up in the kind of doomsday atmosphere, right? Of I'm just waiting for the rapture. There's life is nothing but misery. I'm just waiting for the rapture. And I hear a lot of Christians say stuff like this, and I agree. I think it's absolutely true. There's no point to life without God. Yeah, okay, absolutely. But here's the thing: there is still a need to enjoy your life. God gave you a gift, and a lot of times Christians are guilty of not even enjoying it, just kind of forgetting that. So they're just focused so much on the next life and the end of misery. But it's like this life does still have something to offer. You don't have to live for this life and just completely super invest and make your life all about you and accumulating your things and all kinds of. You don't have to do that. You don't have to go to the extremes, but neither do you have to go to the extremes saying I have to hate my life. There was a book called The Wizard of Earthsea. It's probably from like the 60s or something. And the person who wrote it was actually an atheist. And I was reading a Christian reviewing the book by the atheist. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. I was reading a review by a Christian reviewing the book by the atheist. Okay, all right, there you go. It's actually a book series, the Wizard of Earthsea series, and the reviewer made the comment that it was probably the most influential book that they had read. And the person who was interviewing them said, really? Because they expected the person to say Chronicles of Narnia and or something like that. And the reason why was because the reviewer was bringing up this idea that, for a lot of people, they like the idea of living fully in this life, just enjoying your life, and then here and now, and then getting just be done. Saying goodbye to life. And a lot of people have that brings them a lot of joy and hope. And so the whole Christian preoccupation with we're over focusing on the next life and this life is pointless without the next life and stuff. For atheists like Ursula Le Guin, that's not really that strong of an argument to believe in God, because they don't want that. They just want to enjoy this life for what it is and then be done with it. And it was a very very eye-opening thing for me, because when you're a Christian, you kind of get in this bubble and you kind of forget how the rest of the world thinks, and you think that like your opinion on something is like the ultimate, and it gets to where it's very very surface and you don't really get to connect with other people. And this review really did a good job of reminding me that not everybody thinks the same way as I do. Sometimes people are Christians because the same thing that won me over is not really going to do anything to them. And it's important for us to remember that Christianity itself really isn't about being perfect. I always grew up as you have to be better and stuff. No, nobody is perfect. I know that, but it's not even possible to be perfect. But Christians always put out this air like everything has to be perfect all the time. You're going to struggle with things, whether you're a Christian or not. You're going to struggle with porn. You're going to struggle with the different addictions in your life. You're going to have struggles, and the purpose isn't to be perfect. As a Christian, it's a process of trusting God while He does something in you, and you're pursuing Him. But that doesn't mean that you become perfect. And I read online somewhere, it said, addiction is giving up everything for one thing. Recovery is giving up one thing for everything. And that's really what we're talking about. The way that pornography and other things can really be all-consuming. And they can be rooted in this all-consuming attitude and this all-consuming just grief inside of you that's not really dealt with. And so we're dealing with it, but we're realizing that we're not really going to ever be perfect. As someone who talking to people who are not Christians, though, this is going to mean a little bit less, because they're going to say, well, I'm trying to get off of porn. And I do think absolutely that is possible. But I think that there's a certain element of past our trying. We're not trying to earn our salvation, right? It's something past our trying, where God does a work in us, and He's working us to perfection in the next life. But that doesn't mean that we have to get over focused on the next life. Your life is going to be full of struggles and ugliness and things that are pretty. And you have to accept life for what it is and just enjoy it. Christianity isn't about being better or doing good things, but rather trusting in the mess of your struggles, trusting God in the mess of your struggles around you. Oh, I messed up again. That's part of life. I mean, I'm not saying you should live boldly in sin and not even try to be a better person, that kind of stuff, but realizing that we are very much limited. Sometimes the real reason that we are upset is because someone doesn't think we're the best. We get upset because we try and we fail because somebody might know that we're really not the best, that we really do struggle, that we're weak just like them. Sometimes the real reason why we're upset is because we feel stupid. Why can't I get over this? This is embarrassing. Sometimes it's because we messed up. We just can't conjure the idea that we might be less than perfect. One time I was really upset because there's this person who really hurt me and my family and my wife, my kids. There was this real betrayal, and it really bothered me. And but then I stopped playing the victim and I actually started thinking about it, and it wasn't really like that. What happened was there was this woman who was very close to our family, and she was married. I'm married. Well, as it turned out, she fell in love with me, and she couldn't get over it. She tried, but she couldn't. And so I got all kinds of upset at her for leaving and hurting my kids and hurting my wife, but she tried to do what was best. She didn't want to hurt her marriage. She didn't want to hurt mine. She didn't want to hurt my kids. So she took the graceful way out and left. I think there are better ways to deal with that, but it didn't. She made sure that it didn't end in adultery. And all that time that I got mad at her, and it wasn't fair. She really was trying to do the right thing. And then to make matters worse, I was doing things unintentionally, maybe intentionally. I don't know. Sometimes I question. In our minds we think that we're always the heroes, right? But I started thinking about it, and maybe I wasn't doing it unintentionally. I don't know. Anyways, I was doing things, regardless, that were tempting her to a greater degree, and I didn't even realize it. And I should have seen the warning signs. I mean, I realized that I wasn't being as diligent as I should have been about my faithfulness to my wife. I was in a period when I was, kind of looking at other women. And I did find this person very attractive, and I wasn't taking adequate steps to do anything about that. And it wasn't really even her fault that that she started having feelings for me. I mean, I didn't do anything to stop it. And so all that time that I spent being mad at her, when the truth is I could have done a better job. And when I realized that, it was harder for me to get mad at her for abandoning me or us, whichever, because I was equally to blame too. See, sometimes we have these things that these hurts that we carry along with us, and we're unwilling to look at it twice. We're unwilling to take our blame for it. And instead, we just walk around with these wounds and, oh, well, they're just wrong. They hurt me. And it's like, well, did you even try to understand it from their point of view? It's very important that we weigh our motives and stop trying to twist everything to make ourselves the hero or the victim. It's very important that we do that. If you are looking at porn because of hurt and you're not willing to deal with that hurt, don't expect to be willing to get over the porn. Oftentimes, addictions can be very deeply rooted in us. And that is the craziest thing. On my bike, in the camera, part of my tires. Oh, it's. I have this. If you look at my bike in the back corner, it looks like part of my tire's missing. I have a fan there, a stand-up fan that's all white with the same color as the wall. That really threw me off. Anyways, so if you are a Christian, it isn't about being good or being better, right? It's about trusting and obeying God in the midst of your mess ups. This is important because of a few things. First off, we beat ourselves to guilt, and then we keep doing this over and over again, and there's no freedom in Christ. It's just continual guilt trips. Another thing is because, hey, I got off of drugs by myself, so I don't need God. I don't need to go to church. If Jesus works for you, that's fine for you, but it doesn't do anything for me. It's like, see what I mean? That's not the point. And a lot of times Christians do use it as kind of as a crutch, rather than dealing with it and facing it. Like, I don't want to have to deal with this bad attitude, but Jesus loves my mess. And it's like, yeah, but he doesn't really want you to keep wading with the pigs, though. So there's kind of a point there. And so then we mess up, and so what do? We go to God with more guilt and shame, and He knew we were going to do it. And even as we're saying, God, I'll never do it again. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. He's already seeing the time that we'll do it again in the future, and yet He still forgives us. So I think that there's a certain part where you have to say, I am sorry that I did this. I am trying. But maybe not making a promise to God that we can't keep, or maybe even sometimes we don't even intend to keep. So it's important that you stay humble as you're dealing with porn. Sometimes you'll go through these times of feeling really good, accomplishing much, going a long time without it, and we just kind of forget to stay humble. Forget that we do need each other. Forget that we can't do this by ourselves. It can happen again, and it could be you. Oh, that will never happen to me. It could be you. Don't ever get in that mindset of it happened to them because they weren't prepared. But I got this. I got this. There was actually a very bitter woman that I dealt with one time, and she irritated me to no end. And about halfway through the problem, I started realizing, holy crap, this woman is me in 40 years. She had the same attitude problems that I did, dealing with the same things that I did, and I realized, I'm getting all mad at her because that's exactly what I am, and what I'm becoming more so every single day. So instead of it becoming a point of irritation, it became a point of constant check, and I realized it's a good thing she came along, because I wouldn't have realized this. I wouldn't have realized this in me. In our own heads, we like to think that we're awesome all the time. And so when she was annoying me, it really showed me what I was becoming. And so I had to really start changing my attitude. And I had to let the hurt go. Unresolved conflict in us changes us and how we deal with situations and process information. It changes the way we think, the way we act, the way we interpret events. When we're hurt, for instance, we think somebody's being offensive when they're not. We are being offended. There's just a lot of depth to dealing with problems that you don't learn until you start dealing with the problems. And then you start realizing how, if you want to look and get over things like porn and your addictive things, you got to heal the hurt. You got to give the addiction no place to rest in your heart. So what you've done, and your addictions and fighting your addictions and all that, the bad things that have happened to you in your life, they brought you here. This is where you are. So you have to ask yourself, where to now? Where do I want to go? Do I want to stay here in this place of pain and bitterness? Do I want to deal with it? Do I want to change? Do I just want everybody else around me to change? The map is before you. You have to simply choose where you're going to go. What you have done has gotten you here. The things that you have done in your life, the choices that you made, the ways that you've allowed yourself to change, that's gotten you here. If you want to go somewhere else, you have to change. Okay? What you've done to this point got you here. It won't get you there. If you want to go somewhere else, you have to change. And what does it mean to change? Well, it means, I was listening to Sam Chand, and he brought up a few things. First off, it means losing something. Change is losing something. What are you willing to lose? And change is critiquing the past. Are you living in a golden era of, oh, those were the good old days? Or do you see something in you that needs to be different? Are you critiquing the past? Or are you simply complaining about the results of the past? There's a big difference. Maybe, and I hate to say this, but it is very much so true. Maybe your friendship choices are holding you back. Maybe you're purposely hanging around people who tell you that your crappy attitude is okay. Maybe you're dealing with people who are making it harder and tempting you more. A family, man. Well, my friends are family. Well, maybe. But keep in mind that if they're keeping you in an addiction, they're not really friends. You have in your life, you have to carry this thing for a while. This addiction, this pain, you have to carry the pain with you for a while. Maybe you're going to carry it till death. Maybe you're going to struggle till the day that you die. The point is not to. The point isn't to not have baggage. You're going to have baggage. But instead of trying to live without baggage, manage it. Learn to deal with it. Use it. Help it to make you better. Help it to see. Use it to help you reach other people. To help other people who are lost and overlooked. Were you raped? What can you do to help other people? How can you encourage a change? How can you seek healing? How can you maybe use it to form some kind of group of people who have been so mistreated, some way to find healing together? Not like a man's hater club, or where you get together and just gripe and complain about stuff, but find true healing with each other and move forward. How can you use it? We want to change anything. We want to not change anything and then have the result of being normal like everyone else, right? So, I'm not normal, I struggle with this, I've been hurt in this way, it's not fair. And so we want that thing to go away so that we can go and live like everybody else, normal, right? But everybody has their own little thing, their own little hurts. So what does it really mean to be normal? How can we possibly have different results if we're not changing anything? But I wasn't the one who was wronged, I get that. But you still hurt. You still have to deal with that hurt, whether you deserved it or not. It doesn't even freaking matter. You got to do something with it, or it'll own you. It'll always own you, and that person will always run your life. God wants to change us, and He wants to use the nonsense crap that we've gone through to do it. He gives our pointless situations, the crap that happened to us for no reason. He wants to take those things and use it to change us for our good. He wants to use it in a way that can help us and help us to help others. Maybe you keep failing at overcoming and you keep trying and getting up. I'm going to say this, and I hope you don't misunderstand me. It's not as important that you get over it as it is that you keep getting up and you keep fighting. It's not about living life with no baggage. It's about managing it and using it. So how can you take your failures and your weaknesses and turn them into strengths and help others? How can you take your greatest hurts, your greatest failures, your greatest weaknesses, and help other people with it? I started making these videos in this playlist, dealing with anxiety and addiction and porn and all these different things. I started making them with the assumption that I would never change, that I would always be hurt, that I would never heal, that I would struggle with these things for forever to the same degree that I was struggling with them at first. And I definitely do still struggle, and it'd be arrogant and stupid to think that I will reach a point of never struggling. But I do have to say this: I have made some serious headway in the different things I've been talking about. I have this year the worst bout of suicidal thoughts and depression that I've ever had in my entire life, and I conquered it. I'm here. It doesn't happen as frequently, but man, when it happened last month, it was very difficult, but I overcame it. Or think about porn. I used to be very much so addicted, and I do it very, very infrequently now. I went from looking at porn over 340 times per year closer to around 370 to 380 times per year. I went from that to now it's about 2 to 24 times per year, depending on the year. 24 being the high end. Typically, it doesn't go over 12 times a year. I just put 24 so you would see the full range. Is that complete victory? No. Am I headed towards that? Yep. And I'm going to keep going until I have completely mastered it. It's taken years, but check this out. I'm more ahead than if I hadn't tried at all. So a few things that have happened as I've dealt with my porn addiction, my thinking has changed. I don't think the same way anymore. I realize I don't need it. And I really don't need it now because I've been dealing with it. I've been off of it for a while now. I don't need it. I'm turned off by it now. When I slip and do something, it doesn't have the same pleasure or allure, and it's just kind of like I feel dirty, and it's not the same. I also, when I do slip, I don't go to the same extreme videos that I used to. I understand its dark side more and the effects that it has on relationships and sex trafficking and all kinds of different stuff. I am satisfied with my wife, more so now than before. Probably now more so than I ever have been before. I don't need her to be perfect anymore. I'm okay. And I don't have the same. I don't have bedroom problems now. A lot of times, people who look at porn, they have like erectile dysfunction stuff. I don't have those issues. This is a lot better. And has it taken a lot of time and energy and effort? Yes. And I will fight even harder. Seeing all the progress I have taken, it just encourages me. And I will keep on fighting, and I encourage you to join me in this. Now, we're gonna finish up this series about fighting porn and failing next week. I hope you guys have been enjoying it. I hope that you've been finding healing and finding forgiveness and forgiving others. And check you later. Bye.